Hi, my name is Kuntal Joisher. I am a software engineer by profession, a mountaineer by passion, and a vegan by compassion. I was just a regular, happy-go-lucky software engineer, the guy living next door, and then through a certain events in my life, I found out what my true calling was, which was climbing mountains and then eventually climbing Mount Everest. Yeah. A dream that I conceived in 2010 of a 100% vegan ascent finally got over earlier this year, and looking forward to yet another journey in my life. So I was actually part of a team that was walking to Everest base camp and then was going to attempt a 6,000 meter mountain. So it was almost sort of like my start of my journey, and it was there when I saw Everest and I said, okay, even though I have no plans of climbing Everest until now, but looking at this mountain, I think this is going to be a great journey. So the journey had to be something where I could build that physical fitness and I could build that mental stamina that would put me on top of the world. So the three sort of pillars of my physical fitness training, cardio endurance, strength training, and then HIIT, high intensity interval training, combined with a fair bit of expedition spread throughout the year. This was sort of how I achieved some good level of physical fitness. One thing that I tell people is if you want to achieve physical fitness, or for that matter anything else in life, discipline and consistency is super important. Now, mental fitness is something that does not have a blueprint. Everyone has their own journey to achieve that mental fitness. Initially during the journey, I quickly realized that I had a big fear of heights. And here's someone who has fear of heights and wants to climb the highest mountain in the world. Yeah. So it was sort of like, okay, how do you figure this out? Possibly the way to manage my fear for heights, or manage this fear that I'm having, is that I have to confront it head on. Right. And I have to keep doing it over and over again until it becomes second nature to me. And after that, still when people ask me, what was that thing that put you on top of Mount Everest? And I tell them that day in 2010 when I told myself that I'm going to climb Everest, and that I showed up to climb Everest, I think that was the key. I have always been a vegetarian, so born and brought up in a vegetarian family. And my parents almost sort of inculcated the whole idea in me that as vegetarians we are compassionate towards animals. So growing up, I always thought that I was a compassionate person, compassionate towards animals, and that was very important for me in life. Now when I went to the US, a friend sort of started pointing out a lot of fallacies in vegetarianism as an ethical choice. This was the first time I asked, what's the problem with leather, or what's the problem with milk? Why are you pointing these things out to me? And so he started sharing a lot of literature about the cruelty in the dairy industry, the egg industry, the leather industry. And so I started reading up on these things, and it was almost sort of an epiphany that at the end of the day, there is really no difference between a leather belt, a block of cheese, a glass of milk, or for that matter, a piece of beef. That if my plate is cruel, or if what I'm wearing is cruel, that's like the most basic things that I have to fix. So overnight I went vegan. It wasn't really very hard. I practically looked at my entire home, everything from my shampoo to my soap to everything I was using, the clothing, my food. I just collected everything that was not vegan, and I sort of donated it to the Salvation Army folks or the homeless folks, whoever wanted whatever they wanted. A lot of people like point out there must have been so much struggle and everything. I think compared to the struggle of 80 billion land animals that are slaughtered every year for food and clothing, I would not call it a struggle. It was just a small adjustment phase which was pretty small, and I quickly adjusted to my life. When I decided that I wanted to climb Everest, of course I had been a vegan. I had been a passionate vegan for so many years. I truly believe every animal loves as we do. Every animal wants to live as much as we do. They feel the same amount of pain and joy that we do. And they have as much right to exist and live on this planet as we do. And that's when I decided, if I'm going to climb Everest, I'm going to climb it as a vegan, or I'm not going to climb it. Because typical climbing diet is heavy on meat, heavy on dairy and heavy on eggs. So their constant question was, how are you going to climb without the support of these things? So I went on the journey, and I have to tell you that vegan diet was not a hindrance at all during the entire journey. I started paying close attention to the food that Sherpa people eat. Now, Sherpa climbers are some of the best mountaineers in the world, so I thought maybe I can look at their playbook and pick up some stuff from there. And I looked at the diet, and it's essentially dal bhat tarkari, which is essentially lentils, rice and vegetables. Meat almost always is just a small part of the diet. Finding vegan food or veganizing already existing menus was never a problem at all. So I climbed it as a vegan, and the single most thing that I wanted to sort of bring out through the climb was that as a vegan, you can climb Mount Everest, you can climb it safely, you can climb it reliably, and you can climb it in good style. I personally know of 3 mountaineers who were pure vegetarians, passionate vegetarians, but they decided to climb Everest and they started eating meat just to climb Mount Everest. And so this is the sort of myth that I wanted to debunk, that you don't need to eat meat, you don't need to eat dairy, you don't need to eat eggs to climb to the top of Mount Everest. From 2010 to 2013, I was able to find vegan alternatives to practically every piece of gear that would have taken me on top of Mount Everest, except one, which is a one-piece suit that you wear on the final day of your climb. So I'm like, okay, I've already tried reaching out to companies, big companies, already tried building my own. None of this has worked out. And so as much as in the beginning I was saying that my veganism was not up for compromise, I made one-time choice of buying a down suit. So I reached out to this company called Save the Duck. It's a Milan-based company, and they are one of the pioneers of synthetic insulation. But they are not into mountaineering or outdoor wear at all. They are more into city wear for cold weather and everything. To my surprise, their chief marketing officer reached out directly to me saying, we would be very interested in your project and we think we have the technology to do this. I got the first version of the suit in April 2018. I tested it on myself on Lhotse, which is the 4th highest mountain of the world. I successfully climbed to the top wearing that suit. After this, I decided that it was time to go back to Everest and finally, put the suit on the top and finish this dream. So this year I decided that I'm going to go from the Chinese side, which was colder, windier, and a lot of people call it more technical. So that's what I did. Finally climbed Everest on 23rd May 2019, and again I was warm and cozy and perfectly safe in the suit and no issues at all. So again, trying to just prove the point that you do not need to eat animals, you do not need to wear animals. If I can do it on top of Everest in such crazy conditions, no one in this world has an excuse why they are still wearing fur, why they are still wearing down jackets, or why they are still wearing any of these kind of things. I wanted this year's climb to be a vegan climb down to the level of even my hand sanitizer. Right. Everything from my soap to my shampoo to everything. So it was great to find the TreeWear hand sanitizer. I had a couple of versions of it, and I took them on my climb. Pretty much had it till 8,300 meters camp, which is the highest camp in the world at 27,500 feet. So I had the hand sanitizer even there, and it's always good to have a vegan product, a cruelty-free product, an animal-free product with me. But to me, it's a big deal. To me, having a cruelty-free version of a hand sanitizer or everything that every daily products that we use would be cool to have. I'm just happy that this product is there in the market and I can use it on my climbs and not have to worry about kya dala hai iske andar. As long as it's vegan, to me, I'm happy.